There's a moment, right after you've been accused, questioned, or even just misunderstood, where a switch flips inside your brain. You feel a nearly irresistible urge to open your mouth and fix it, to clarify, to justify, to defend. And in that exact moment, you are more vulnerable than you have ever been. Because while you think you're taking control of the narrative, your brain is quietly handing over something far more dangerous: permission to be judged by a story you haven't finished telling yet. Almost nobody talks about this part. The legal system is built around it. Entire interrogation rooms are designed to exploit it. And yet most people walk through life never realizing that the simple act of explaining yourself triggers a psychological sequence that can determine your freedom, your reputation, and how others permanently see you. I want you to imagine a scene. You're sitting in a quiet room. It could be an office, a police station, or your own living room after an argument. Someone looks at you and says, "Can you explain this?" Your heart rate ticks up. Your mind floods with fragments. What really happened, what they think happened, the version that makes you look good. And then the words start coming. Rational, sincere, detailed. You think you're building a bridge of understanding. But here's where it gets strange. The more you say, the less they hear you as a person, and the more they start seeing you as a case to be solved. That shift is not random. It's predictable. Psychologists call it the explanation trap. And it has less to do with lying or guilt than with a deep cognitive blind spot we all share. When you explain yourself, you're activating two conflicting systems in the listener's mind: the need for coherence and the instinct for suspicion. As soon as you offer details, the brain doesn't just absorb them, it cross-references them against what it already believes. Every new piece of information becomes a possible inconsistency. And because no human memory is perfectly linear, even innocent explanations contain tiny gaps. Those gaps feel like lies, and suddenly you're not clarifying, you're just digging. But the story gets darker. Because this isn't just about social misunderstandings. This is the exact logic that governs some of the most high-stakes moments in law. In the United States, the Miranda warning exists for a reason most people completely misunderstand. You've heard it 100 times. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Most people think that's a protection. In reality, it's a flashing neon sign warning you about the moment you're about to walk into right now. The legal system doesn't require you to explain yourself, but it desperately wants you to try. Why? Because once you start talking, you've waved your most powerful shield. You've given prosecutors a script they can dissect, misinterpret, and weaponize, all while you were trying to be helpful. Innocent people have talked themselves into convictions, not because they were stupid, because they were human. And then something unexpected happened when researchers began studying this phenomenon outside the courtroom. They found the same pattern in workplaces, in relationships, in public scandals. The moment you issue a detailed denial or a lengthy clarification, the audience's memory doesn't hold on to the truth. It holds on to the narrative you supplied. The human brain favors a coherent story over a fragmented set of denials. So when you say, "I did not do that," here's exactly where I was, and here's who can verify it. Listeners later recall the vivid scene you painted, but they often forget the not. Weeks later, they remember you in that location, doing that thing. Your explanation becomes the very evidence against you in their minds. This changes everything, because it means the instinct to explain isn't just a social reflex, it's a transfer of power. You enter the conversation believing truth is your defense. You leave realizing that storytelling is the prosecutor, and your own words just join the prosecution. Now, there's a tension here we have to sit with. Silence feels wrong. When you're innocent, silence feels like an admission of guilt. When you're misunderstood, silence feels like surrender. But that discomfort is a biological glitch, not a strategic failure. Your brain evolved to seek social belonging, and exclusion was once a death sentence. So the urge to speak is panic dressed as rationality. The legal system knows this. Skilled interrogators wait through awkward silences because they understand that silence makes innocent people confess to things they didn't do. Confess with explanations that contain the very details needed to convict them later. And here's the open loop I promised to close. Earlier, I asked why the system wants you to keep talking. The answer: because your explanation isn't treated as a defense. It's treated as raw material. Every word becomes a data point that can be rearranged. "I wasn't there that night" becomes a focus on that night and an implication about other nights. "I would never hurt that person" transforms into an analysis of your capacity for anger. Your attempt to close the case simply opens a new one where you're the only witness, and your memory is now Exhibit A. But this isn't a message of despair. It's a message of power. The moment you start explaining yourself isn't the moment you lose. It's the moment you choose whether to play a game rigged against narrative innocence. Knowing this allows you to pause, to ask yourself before any explanation, am I speaking to someone who wants understanding or someone who is collecting ammunition? If it's the latter, your silence isn't weakness. It's the only move that keeps the story yours. So let me leave you with a reflection that sticks. In a world that constantly demands you justify your existence, your choices, your mistakes, the most radical act might be refusing to audition for your own life. You don't owe everyone a backstage pass to your reasoning. Some rooms are not courtrooms, but they operate by the same rule. Anything you say can be reshaped, remembered wrong, and used to construct a version of you that never existed. And the people who truly see you won't need 1,000 words to believe you. They'll recognize the truth in what you do when you're not explaining at all. If this shifted something in how you think about everyday conversations, or if you've ever felt the sting of being talked into a corner while trying to clear your name, drop a comment below. I read them, and your story matters. And if you want to stick with content that unpacks the hidden rules shaping your freedom and your mind, hit subscribe. The next one's already in the works, and it's about a psychological loophole even judges struggle to see coming.